The sound of drums echoed, vibrating through the bones and veins within Wang Lin's body. At the same time, countless phantom images emerged from the vast drum in the sky, rippling in the air with each beat. Each phantom wore red armor, resembling blood-colored celestial soldiers, and as hundreds or even thousands of them appeared, they charged toward Wang Lin, their murderous aura thick and suffocating. This was the second tribulation of the inner three tribulations, the Blood Shadow Tribulation. Each of these blood shadows had a cultivation strength no less than the Void Profound stage, and they were immortal and indestructible. Even if destroyed, they would immediately reassemble from the ripples and reappear. Endless and unyielding, they would continue to regenerate, becoming a terrifying nightmare for anyone attempting to survive this tribulation. The most frightening part of this tribulation was that every time one of these blood shadows died, its strength would increase. The longer the tribulation lasted, the more powerful they would become. Eventually, they could erase the person attempting to transcend the tribulation. For ordinary cultivators, it was rare for anyone to pass this tribulation in one go. Most could only barely survive the severance tribulation, then forcefully withdraw from the profound tribulation, waiting many years before gathering enough strength to face the blood shadow tribulation again. The terror of this tribulation lies in its inability to be destroyed, and only a few could overcome it. Wang Lin didn't know how others transcended the blood shadow tribulation, but he had his own method. The moment the nearly 1,000 blood shadows appeared, Wang Lin, suspended in midair, erupted with overwhelming golden light from his eyes. A tremendous aura of majesty, akin to heavenly might, spread from his eyes. Under this golden light, Wang Lin's eyes radiated a suppressive force. This power was unparalleled, forged from the fusion of the immortal extreme sword shards by the green-robed elder. Even the scorpion soul had been suppressed by this gaze, not to mention the blood shadows born from the inner three tribulations. As Wang Lin's gaze swept across the sky, every blood shadow that fell under his gaze trembled in unison. They froze midair, their faces showing fear. In that instant, they all felt as if the weight of heavenly might had descended upon them. This pressure took form as a golden sword, silently but forcefully thrusting into their bodies. The mere thought of moving a single step forward would result in their instant destruction. Go back. Wang Lin's voice rang out coldly from midair as his gaze passed over them. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a heavenly roar to the nearly 1,000 blood shadows. They trembled violently, instinctively retreating in haste. These shadows, born from the inner three tribulations, lacked much intelligence, but had an instinctive fear of Wang Lin's gaze. As they retreated, they instantly rolled back hundreds of feet, merging once more with the ripples and disappearing from sight. Throughout history, many cultivators had faced this tribulation with various methods, but none had done it like Wang Lin. Without lifting a finger, just a glance and a single word from him made the blood shadow tribulation collapse on its own. No one had ever done that before. As the last of the blood shadows faded, Wang Lin's body shot up like a comet, heading straight for the 1,000-foot-tall drum in the sky. The drum shuddered and was about to emit the third beat, but before it could, Wang Lin had already arrived. His right hand raised the bone blade, slashing toward the drum in an instant. At the same time, Wang Lin's 5 elements avatar emerged behind him, overlapping with his own image. The avatar raised its right hand, and the bone blade transformed into 3 shadows, following closely behind Wang Lin, crashing down together. As the bone blade struck the drum, the third beat of the drum was about to sound. But the roar of the blade and the thunderous crash of its strike drowned out the drum's sound entirely. With a single sweeping strike, Wang Lin's 5 elements avatar followed suit with 3 more strikes. From a distance, it seemed as though 4 immense blades were slicing through the heavens, smashing down on the illusory drum with overwhelming force. The sound of the impact turned into endless drum beats, shaking the world. In that instant, a crack appeared down the center of the drum, and it shattered violently, crumbling into countless pieces. The fragments were swept away by a violent wind and scattered in all directions. Before the third tribulation of the inner 3 tribulations could even manifest, it was already shattered by Wang Lin's blade, destroying the foundation of the entire tribulation. Having successfully passed 6 profound tribulations, Wang Lin's expression grew solemn. This inner 3 tribulations was clearly far stronger than the outer 3 tribulations. It required him to use his suppressive gaze and bone blade. Based on this, the final 3 tribulations would undoubtedly be far more dangerous, creating a deep divide that would prevent cultivators from becoming a void tribulation supreme. His body floated down and landed on the scorpion tail. The bone blade slowly returned to his body, disappearing from sight. Wang Lin looked up at the sky, awaiting the arrival of the final 3 profound tribulations. Inside Wang Lin's body, aside from granting him the heavenly might suppression gaze and the bone blade, the green-robed elder also gifted him a resilient physique and a meridian formed from the immortal ancestor's hair. This meridian allows Wang Lin, to some extent, to achieve the state of immortal ancient unity. The hair contains an incredibly rich immortal qi, which can replace and act as Wang Lin's immortal clan bloodline. Although this hair cannot perfectly make Wang Lin a complete immortal ancient unity, it still serves a purpose. At the very least, it allows the meridian formed from the hair within his body to circulate pure immortal power with each breath. This immortal power grants Wang Lin access to a treasure that makes him nearly invincible within the abode realm. When this treasure is used, it can threaten even cultivators at the early stages of the void tribulation. At this moment, Wang Lin stood silently, gazing at the sky without moving. The sky was dim, the clouds dispersed, but after a moment, a faint eerie glow emanated from the heavens. This glow carried a strange sensation, and as it reappeared, it condensed into a massive marked symbol in the sky. The symbol resembled a ghostly face, yet it exuded an aura akin to rules, as if its existence was part of the celestial mechanism. Wang Lin's pupils constricted as he stared at the symbol. The moment it appeared, he felt an imperceptible sense of danger, but he couldn't pinpoint how this danger manifested. This is the 7th tribulation. Wang Lin furrowed his brows and coldly snorted, about to disperse the symbol. But suddenly, his expression changed. He clearly sensed something wrong with his essence spirit. His essence spirit, once full and circulating smoothly within his body, now showed signs of withering. Within a breath, his essence spirit withered by almost half. At this rate, within 7 breaths, his essence spirit would completely dissipate, his body and soul annihilated. This sudden change shook Wang Lin's mind, and for the first time, he deeply felt the terror of the profound tribulation. To delay the withering of his essence spirit, he would need to devour a massive amount of celestial energy. Time was of the essence. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he opened his mouth and took a deep breath, causing the surrounding celestial energy to surge. But it was futile. He could not absorb it. The pressure from the profound tribulation had already covered thousands of miles, preventing outsiders from entering. Even the celestial energy was blocked. On the second breath, the eerie glow intensified, and Wang Lin's essence spirit withered even more. Good 7th tribulation. Wang Lin suddenly looked up. His body swayed and rushed toward the eerie, glowing symbol in the sky. His right hand shot up, and just as he neared, he punched out. At that moment, an ancient Tao shadow appeared behind him, and together, they struck at the sky. However, as soon as the ancient Tao punch hit the eerie symbol, it passed through it without causing any harm, as if the symbol were a phantom, visible but intangible. With that punch, the third breath came, and Wang Lin's essence spirit withered again, now nearly half destroyed. Wang Lin's expression darkened. This 7th tribulation, the first tribulation of the 3 soul tribulations, was called the 10-breath withering god tribulation. Countless cultivators had perished under this tribulation. In the withering god tribulation, the essence spirit withers completely in 7 breaths, resulting in total annihilation. This tribulation is both strange and terrifying. It kills without sound or trace, a silent killer. The symbol in the sky is the key to this tribulation, and it cannot be destroyed. It will persist until the cultivator dies, then vanish. Wang Lin stared at the symbol in the sky, his mind racing. I underestimated this profound tribulation. It's interesting. It's actually making my essence spirit wither, and the celestial energy here is blocked. There's only one way out. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. Although he couldn't absorb celestial energy within these thousands of miles, there was still one extremely pure source of celestial energy, Scorpion Soul. Without hesitation, Wang Lin swayed his body, and, just as the fourth breath approached, his hands shot up and pressed against the Scorpion Temple. The temple trembled with a loud rumble, and Wang Lin's hands seemed to contain immense sucking power. As he sucked in, a shrill cry echoed from the Scorpion Temple. As the fifth breath neared, a soul mist spread from the temple, rushing toward Wang Lin's hands, transforming into celestial energy, which he devoured frantically. The Scorpion Soul, which had been split into 6 pieces by Wang Lin before, had 4 parts absorbed to strike the void profound, while the remaining 2 parts were merged into the Scorpion Temple, hiding within. If it were a normal time, Wang Lin would have a hard time finding it, but now, as his cultivation had rapidly increased, he had also absorbed 4 portions of the Scorpion Soul's aura. With the interaction of these auras, he immediately pulled the remaining 2 portions of the Scorpion Soul out from within the Scorpion Temple. As the 6th breath arrived, Wang Lin's divine sense within his body once again withered. However, due to the infusion of the power of heaven and earth from the Scorpion Soul, a balance was achieved. This balance, though, could not last for long. With the passing of time, it would once again collapse, unless Wang Lin could find more heavenly and earthly power to replenish his body. As for the other cultivators who faced this tribulation, most of them resorted to continuously devouring pills and various items to endure, hoping to hold on. If they could last through the 7th breath, and their divine sense didn't perish, they would need to endure 3 more breaths. After 10 breaths, they could successfully survive. However, those last 3 breaths were far more terrifying than the previous ones. Even the wealthiest cultivators would struggle to survive, for the digestive speed of pills was no match for the rate of withering. Before absorbing much, their divine sense would wither away and perish in just a few breaths. Thus, the quality of pills was extremely important. But even with the best pills, surviving this tribulation remained uncertain. They could only improve their chances a little. This withering god tribulation was extremely passive for those who underwent it. The tribulation completely held the initiative. Throughout history, everyone who survived it did so only by sheer force. Even the grand heavenly venerables had to endure this, relying heavily on large amounts of pills and the fear of life and death to survive. In fact, there were legends of only 2 grand heavenly venerables who had survived 9 profound tribulations, and they too endured by gritting their teeth, waiting for the 10 breaths to end before the tribulation would dissipate on its own. The 7th breath arrived without mercy. Wang Lin's internal balance suddenly shattered, and his divine sense rapidly withered over a large area. But his expression showed no change. Seizing the moment when his divine sense had withered and been replenished, he quickly searched for a way to break through the tribulation. If I want to endure, I must quickly find the location where the true soul of the green demon scorpion is suppressed, and absorb the power of its true soul to pass through this tribulation. With the power of its true soul, this tribulation should not be too difficult to survive. However, the suppressed true soul is not easy to absorb, and I have no idea how long it will take. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. A tribulation is also a creation. I have always believed in this. This tribulation, though strange, is after all just a tribulation. Let's see whether the withering power of this tribulation is stronger, or whether my belief is more unyielding. Wang Lin suddenly lifted his head, and his eyes shone with a peculiar light, containing a powerful belief. With Wang Lin's intellect, he instantly understood the key to overcoming this tribulation. He also guessed the methods used by all those who faced it throughout history. However, these methods were highly passive, surrendering oneself to the tribulation and barely surviving under its weight. This was a choice Wang Lin refused to make. I have enough faith. My divine sense contains my belief. Under this belief, let's see how this tribulation can destroy me. Wang Lin's head shot up, and he gazed at the dark-colored runes in the sky, his eyes filled with unwavering determination. Having faced heavenly tribulations countless times in his life, Wang Lin had long lost any sense of fear. What remained was only the resolve to resist and transcend the 9 heavens. The 8th breath arrived the moment Wang Lin looked up, and Wang Lin's divine sense rapidly withered. By the time the 8th breath passed, only a trace of his divine sense remained. Yet, within this trace, Wang Lin's belief lingered. His entire life of cultivation, his unyielding faith, and his determination to resurrect Li Muan, all existed in this faint remnant of his divine sense. This last trace could not wither or collapse under the 8th breath. It remained, as resilient as Wang Lin himself. I believe my divine sense is immortal in this world. I believe my existence cannot be erased. I believe my life is in my own hands. The 9th breath came, and Wang Lin trembled slightly, but his expression remained unchanged. The 9th breath, carrying the power to wither his entire divine sense, aimed to destroy Wang Lin's divine sense. Yet that trace of divine sense, imbued with belief, still remained. This was no longer just divine sense, it was a belief. The power of heaven and earth could obliterate any divine sense, but it could not destroy a person's belief. If a person loses their belief, then their life will be crushed by the heavens, and they will blame the world for their fate. It will be their own doing because they gave up their belief. But Wang Lin was different. His belief burned like a fire, fiercely and uncontrollably. Looking at the runic symbols in the sky, his gaze was enough to make the heavens tremble. I believe this entire tribulation will turn to smoke and dissipate. I believe I can resurrect Xun'er. I believe I can reach the pinnacle of heaven and earth. Wang Lin roared to the sky, his belief as firm as an oath, shaking the heavens and earth. The 10th breath came like a force trying to extinguish Wang Lin's faith, suddenly crashing down like a violent wave, aiming to drown the tiniest trace of Wang Lin's belief and soul. But in the end, when this 10th breath dissipated, the tiny spark of belief within Wang Lin's soul still remained. Not only did it remain, but it erupted with a thunderous force. Heaven and earth's might can destroy my body, can destroy my soul, can destroy my spirit, but it cannot destroy my belief. Wang Lin roared, stepping towards the sky. Compared to the vast expanse of heaven and earth, his figure was like an ant, yet an aura that could alter the heavens surged from his body. In this aura, Wang Lin charged towards the heavenly symbol in the sky. As he neared it, his hands lifted, and with a sudden tear, he shredded the illusory symbol. With that tear, the illusory mark, struck by Wang Lin's belief, began to take on a solid form, and under his force, it collapsed with a thunderous crash. At the moment the mark shattered, Wang Lin's withered soul force suddenly surged back, reaching its peak in an instant, then rapidly increasing again. The 7th tribulation, the 10 breaths of the withered soul tribulation, collapsed before Wang Lin. At the moment the 10th tribulation collapsed, the heavens and earth suddenly transformed, as streaks of radiant light flickered, and a second symbol appeared in the sky. This second symbol was completely different from the first. It was more complex, exuding an endless sense of ancient time. As this symbol appeared, the 8th tribulation, the soul lifespan tribulation, manifested. The 10 breaths of the soul lifespan tribulation were the second tribulation of the 3 soul tribulations. This tribulation doesn't harm the soul, but seeks to consume the soul's lifespan. This tribulation is like the flow of time. A cultivator's lifespan is not infinite. It has its end, and similarly, so does the soul. The soul's lifespan is like a fleeting moment, perhaps 1,000 years, or perhaps less than 100. When the soul's lifespan expires, the soul dies. A breath can carry the passing of countless years, vanishing in an instant. This tribulation is even more bizarre than the 7th tribulation. It doesn't seek to destroy the cultivator, but requires the person undergoing the tribulation to offer their lifespan willingly. This tribulation is closely linked to the 9th tribulation. During this tribulation, if a person offers up 100,000 years of their lifespan, the 9th tribulation will become much easier, and they will be able to cross it with a single step. However, in the profound void realm, unless there is an extraordinary opportunity, no one can have more than 100,000 years of lifespan. But if no lifespan is offered, the 9th tribulation will be a life or death gamble. In the 8th tribulation, The cultivator has control and decides how much lifespan to sacrifice. This is a choice. Generally speaking, those who dare to face this 8th tribulation have already calculated how much lifespan they should keep for themselves, offering the rest to increase their chances of surviving the 9th tribulation. Once one reaches the void tribulation realm, unless they attain the level of a grand heavenly venerable, their lifespan won't increase. After sacrificing lifespan in the 8th tribulation, what remains will be all they have for the rest of the void tribulation realm. Unless there is a fortuitous opportunity, this cannot be changed. Wang Lin stared at the second symbol in the sky, and in that instant, a strange thought appeared in his mind. This thought, in a unique way, allowed Wang Lin to instantly comprehend the nature of the 8th tribulation. After understanding the 8th tribulation, Wang Lin pondered deeply. He didn't know how the 7-colored immortal sovereign had passed this tribulation, but he suspected that the 7-colored immortal sovereign might have had a special opportunity. He also realized that his previous understanding had been inaccurate. Many cultivators who he thought had stopped at the 8th or 9th tribulations were actually stuck at the 8th. This tribulation doesn't require one to cross it. After offering lifespan, one can choose to withdraw. As long as they make the sacrifice, even if it's only for a year, the 8th tribulation will be considered complete. However, crossing the 9th tribulation will be much more difficult. Wang Lin remained silent for a long time, his gaze flashing. Looking at the symbol in the sky, his body swayed closer. His right hand lifted and reached for the symbol, and in that moment, he spoke. Offer 1 year. As soon as his words left his mouth, his body trembled lightly, almost imperceptibly. The symbol in front of him slowly began to dissipate. The 8th tribulation vanished. As the 8th tribulation disappeared, Wang Lin could have chosen to withdraw, but he didn't. Instead, he looked up at the sky, waiting for the final tribulation to appear. This final tribulation, if he could overcome it, would cause his cultivation to break through the profound void realm and enter the early void tribulation stage, becoming a great venerable. Taking a deep breath, Wang Lin's expression grew serious. He had already passed 8 tribulations, and now, he was about to face the 9th, the final one. His left hand raised, and as he grasped the air, golden light burst forth, revealing the long-absent Li Guang bow, which manifested on his left hand. With his right hand pulling the bowstring, Wang Lin exerted a force and immediately drew the Li Guang bow into a perfect crescent moon shape. A flash of eerie light gleamed, and the Li Guang arrow appeared. He looked up at the sky, and a murderous intent flickered in his eyes. Behind him, his 5 elements true form also raised its hands, and a phantom Li Guang bow and arrow appeared in its hands. Behind the 5 elements true form, with the lightning flashing from the center of Wang Lin's brow, the Thunder Origin avatar slowly materialized, exuding an aura of destruction. It raised its left hand, and in its right hand, an ethereal Li Guang bow and arrow, crackling with lightning, appeared. When Wang Lin had previously sacrificed a year of his lifespan during the 8th tribulation, he had already made up his mind. This 9th tribulation would not be endured, but destroyed. No matter how powerful or difficult this tribulation might be, he did not care. He would not resist, for this tribulation was meant to be destroyed. Simply surviving tribulations 8 times was enough. This last one, if he were to resist it with difficulty, did not suit Wang Lin's nature. Or perhaps it could be said that Wang Lin harbored a hatred for the heavenly tribulation, a hatred even he himself did not fully understand. This hatred had shown itself unmistakably during his several encounters with heavenly tribulations throughout his life. If one were to trace the origin of this hatred, it could be traced back to the vermilion bird star in his abode, when he held Li Muin in his arms and faced the heavenly Tao summons, screaming in despair and fury. As Wang Lin drew the Li Guang bow, the meridians formed by the immortal ancestor's hair inside his body surged with celestial power. This power flowed through his entire body, entered his arms, and surged into the Li Guang bow and arrow, causing the bow to burst forth in a golden light that enveloped Wang Lin's figure. The golden light transformed into a golden dragon, roaring towards the sky, as if it sought to break free and destroy the heavens and the earth. At the same time, on Wang Lin's left side, the bow and arrow of his five elements true form emitted three colors of light: blue, red, and yellow. These three colors, representing water, fire, and earth, gathered and shot into the sky, forming three different colored, ferocious dragons that roared in unison with the golden dragon. On Wang Lin's right side, the Thunder Origin avatar stood coldly, its arms raised as it drew the lightning bow. Lightning flickered across the bow, illuminating the heavens and the earth, and from it appeared a fifth dragon. This fifth dragon was a thunder dragon, crackling with countless bolts of lightning, exuding a terrifying destructive power, even surpassing the five elements' true form, and even Wang Lin's true body. Its thunderous roar was earth-shattering. From a distance, this scene was nothing short of spectacular. Five dragons swallowed the heavens, their roars reverberating in all directions. In the sky above, the final rune imprint appeared. This was the ninth heavenly tribulation, reincarnation, the last threshold preventing a cultivator from becoming a void tribulation supreme. As soon as the rune imprint appeared, it exuded a divine might, as if it could change the course of time, drawing one into the cycle of reincarnation, ultimately leading to death. Destroy the tribulation. Wang Lin let out a thunderous roar that echoed through the golden light surrounding his figure. His voice reverberated, turning into a wave of sound that spread for thousands of miles, reaching the ears of the stunned Green Devil Continent cultivators who had been observing the earlier scene. Destroy the tribulation. He has survived 8 heavenly tribulations, and now, facing the ninth, he does not seek to endure it, but to destroy it. This kind of arrogance, only a great strength demon can do this. As their faces turned pale, their minds rocked by this declaration, Wang Lin's figure within the golden light suddenly released the bowstring from his right hand. At the moment the bowstring was released, it snapped back with intense celestial power, sending a surge of force into the arrow, causing it to unleash a deafening whistle. The sound of this whistle barely had time to spread when the arrow shot out faster than the speed of sound. From a distance, it was no longer an arrow. It was clearly a ferocious golden dragon. The whistle was its roar, and the golden arrow's trail was its dragon body. As the arrow shot out, the heavens and earth changed color, the sky retreated, and all beings trembled in fear. The golden dragon shot up into the sky with an indescribable force, crashing towards the sky. Behind it, the three-color dragon of the 5 elements true form simultaneously released its right hand. With a booming sound, 3 mighty roars erupted, and the blue, red, and yellow dragons followed the golden dragon, roaring towards the rune imprint in the sky. It wasn't just one dragon. Along with the golden dragon, 4 dragons and 4 rays of arrows surged forth like flames erupting from the ground, charging towards the sky. No, it wasn't 4, there were 5. Wang Lin's right side thunder avatar also released its lightning-imbued right hand, and a roar that seemed to threaten the destruction of all realms echoed as it let go of the bowstring. In that moment, a lightning thunder dragon shot into the sky, alongside the 4 other dragons. This dragon carried an aura of destruction, an aura of forbidden rules, and the might of the heavens and thunder, all fused together, forming an arrow that seemed capable of annihilating all living beings. The seal of the 5 dragons tearing the sky, the command of the 5 arrows reaching the sky. Wang Lin's golden arrow first struck the 9th heavenly tribulation reincarnation seal in the sky, crashing into it. It suddenly exploded with all the force of the arrow, causing the seal to tremble violently, as though it were about to collapse. Following that, the 3-colored arrow of the 5 elements rapidly arrived. In the moment the roar still reverberated in the air, it struck the seal with a series of thunderous impacts. Boom, boom, boom. The massive sound suppressed all other noises, deafening the ears. The seal in the sky immediately showed signs of crumbling, with cracks spreading everywhere. The seal, originally formless, contained Wang Lin's belief. It held his hatred for the heavenly tribulation and his firm resolve to destroy the profound tribulation. Under this belief, it neared the level of the great heavenly venerable's divine message art, manifesting something from nothing, solidifying into form. Finally, the thunderous arrow, carrying an aura of destruction, arrived. This arrow was not just an arrow, but a thunderbolt in the shape of an arrow. As it roared through the air, it surged into the reincarnation seal, releasing the destructive power it contained. This arrow emitted a trace of Slaughter Thunder's power. Though only a trace, it was enough to shake the heavens. The reincarnation seal trembled, then shattered with a deafening crash. It broke into countless fragments, scattering towards the sky. The entire heavens trembled as though they were about to collapse. Along with it, the scorpion temple beneath Wang Lin's feet collapsed. The massive scorpion-shaped building couldn't withstand such a shock and suddenly crumbled, transforming into countless stones that scattered in all directions. The green demon scorpion temple was destroyed. As the temple collapsed and dust rose, hiding Wang Lin's figure, an aura of void tribulation emerged from the dust, causing the very heavens to change color. This void tribulation aura was extraordinarily powerful. After appearing, it formed a vortex-like storm, sweeping through the shattered heavens and the crumbling earth, carrying the momentum of the profound tribulation's destruction. It stood in the center of the Green Devil continent, where the Scorpion Temple once stood. Several thousand miles away, more than a dozen Green Devil cultivators showed expressions of awe. As the pressure of the profound tribulation dissipated, they quickly rushed towards the source. Greetings, Lord Green Demon. Congratulations, Lord Green Demon, on your resurrection. The void tribulation aura in the storm was incredibly dense, swirling with the power of heaven and earth. It howled and raged in the storm, spreading in all directions, causing the skies and earth to change color, as though the heavens themselves were retreating. Within the storm, a figure could be seen, faintly visible. The figure was tall, with long hair drifting in the mist. The figure's appearance was unclear, but the pressure of the void tribulation emanated from it. Though the pressure was only from the early stage of the void tribulation, it sent a tremor through the hearts of all nearby cultivators. They felt as though they weren't facing someone at the early stage of the void tribulation, but a supreme being at the very peak of the void tribulation. After a long time, the figure in the storm slowly emerged, gradually becoming clearer as it stepped out. Once fully out of the storm, Wang Lin looked at the sky, his expression calm. He could feel that after the destruction of the ninth profound tribulation, it was as though a barrier had been shattered within his body, allowing his cultivation to rise rapidly, reaching the early stage of the void tribulation. Void tribulation. Wang Lin closed his eyes. Inside him, a massive vortex spun rapidly, emitting an overwhelming aura. Under this aura, Wang Lin felt as though he could control the heavens and earth with a single gesture. This feeling was strange and miraculous. After a while, as the storm behind Wang Lin slowly dissipated, he suddenly opened his eyes. He raised his right hand and clenched his fist with a forceful motion. A series of booming sounds erupted from his palm, and a terrifying force beyond the early void tribulation condensed in his hand. With a clenched fist, the ground beneath his feet rumbled, and countless cracks suddenly tore open, sweeping outward. The void tribulation pressure within his body expanded explosively, causing the nearby Green Devil cultivators to change their expressions. They hastily retreated, their eyes filled with confusion as they looked at Wang Lin. They could not sense any aura of the Green Demon Scorpion from Wang Lin. At this moment, the faces of the dozen or so cultivators changed. The feeling of the void tribulation. Wang Lin looked down at his clenched fist, about to leave when suddenly, his expression shifted. He felt the heavenly reversal pearl within his soul, which had begun to operate after he reached the void tribulation stage. It emitted a pull, as if trying to spread out from his body and towards the earth below. For the first time, Wang Lin clearly sensed a wave of consciousness from the heavenly reversal pearl, radiating a strong desire. This fluctuation of consciousness, before Wang Lin stepped into the void cataclysm, he could never have perceived it with such clarity. Yet with the growth of his cultivation, even this heaven-defying bead now seemed profoundly different. A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. After a brief pause, his right hand suddenly lifted, and he struck a fierce punch toward the earth below. As his fist descended, it transformed into a palm. With a thunderous boom, the ground erupted, countless fissures collapsing outward in an endless wave. A destructive force burst forth, surging into the earth. The land collapsed, forming a vast concave pit spanning several thousand zhong, tearing madly into the depths of the ground. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through to the very bottom. And at that bottom lay the place where the soul of the green fiend scorpion had long been suppressed. Wang Lin's strike shattered the ground, and the massive pit connected directly to the sealed cavern below, violently tearing it open. At that instant, a roar erupted from within the pit, a cry so piercing it shook the minds of the dozen Green Devil Continent cultivators nearby. The sound was chilling, filled with boundless resentment that surged into the heavens. From within the pit, torrents of green mist shot upward like columns of smoke, piercing through the sky. In the air above, they condensed into the form of a colossal green fiend scorpion. It spanned tens of thousands of zhong, blotting out the heavens and casting the land into shadow. The cultivators of the Green Devil Continent stared upward in horror, their faces drained of color. Lord Green Demon. What's happening? Lord Green Demon's soul has emerged. Then who is this man? Could it be he is not Lord Green Demon reborn through possession? Their doubts of earlier now roared to the surface. The eruption of the green fiend scorpion's soul shook their very cores, and a terrifying thought surged into their minds. Wang Lin. He's Wang Lin from the Heavenly Bull Continent. Among the dozen cultivators, one from the Dao Demon sect suddenly cried out. Over a century ago, at the border between the Green Devil Continent and the Meng Earth Continent, he had been part of the hunt for Wang Lin. His heart had already been uncertain, but now recognition thundered in his mind. This was indeed Wang Lin. The Green Demon's soul shrieked, its massive form looming in the heavens, its gaze locked deathly upon Wang Lin. For crimson rune marks shone upon its head, tail, and body, exuding suppressive force. These seals had been left by the immortal progenitor ages ago, restraining the soul and turning it into the very foundation of the Green Devil Continent's strength. Before the scorpion's vast form, Wang Lin appeared small and fragile. Yet he stood unyielding, his cold gaze radiating a presence that pressed even beyond that monstrous soul. His white hair draped over his shoulders. As the scorpion roared, Wang Lin slowly raised his right hand and struck a single punch. That strike carried not only the power of his Dao ancient inheritance, but also the full eruption of his void tribulation cultivation. It coalesced into a heaven-shaking force and hurtled directly toward the scorpion. A thunderous boom shattered the air. The scorpion's soul shuddered, its massive body thrown backward as if a storm sought to tear it apart. But at that critical moment, the 4 rune marks upon its body blazed, dispersing the power of Wang Lin's strike. The scorpion was forced back several thousand zhong, yet remained unbroken. Roar! The scorpion's soul trembled, bellowing again as its titanic body lunged toward Wang Lin. A cold, wrathful divine thought echoed in every direction. All Green Devil cultivators, kill this man. At once, the dozen cultivators' expressions changed. Fixing their eyes on Wang Lin, they rushed out together, streaking through the air like rainbows toward him. The immortal progenitor's seals, even after all these years, they remained so formidable. His cultivation back then must have been. Wang Lin's gaze stayed icy as the scorpion neared. Within him, the heavenly reversal pearl spun madly, reaching its very limit. The consciousness inside pulsed with an even stronger craving. His eyes glinted coldly. He lifted his right hand and, with a sudden sweep, a blaze of white light flickered in his palm. The heavenly reversal pearl appeared. Since arriving in the immortal firmament continent, this was the first time it had manifested before heaven and earth. The moment it emerged, it radiated endless white light, spreading across the land. The scorpion's soul froze at the sight, then almost instantly shrieked in disbelief and terror. Its massive body halted in mid-charge and recoiled desperately, fleeing backward. White light, this is the white pearl. His face twisted with fear as he staggered back in horror, forcing the dozen cultivators charging from all directions to suddenly freeze in place, their eyes locking onto the heavenly reversal pearl radiating endless white light. The scorpion soul retreated with astonishing speed, yet it could not outpace the terrifying heavenly reversal pearl. In a sudden burst, the pearl shot forth at an indescribable speed, instantly closing in on the massive scorpion soul. With a thunderous bang, the pearl pierced through the 4 glowing rune marks that guarded it and sank straight into the depths of the scorpion's soul. The instant it entered, a dreadful devouring force erupted from within the pearl, spreading outward with a deafening roar. Before the dozen green devil cultivators' very eyes, the colossal soul, tens of thousands of feet in size, shrank rapidly. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. In just 3 breaths, the immense scorpion soul collapsed inward and was completely swallowed by the heavenly reversal pearl, vanishing without a trace. Only the 4 rune marks left by the immortal progenitors of old remained drifting in the air, but without the suppressed scorpion soul, they flickered once and dissolved into ash, scattering into the heavens. This sudden scene left the surrounding cultivators pale with terror, their souls nearly scattering apart. In their eyes, Wang Lin had become a nightmare incarnate. Without hesitation, they fled in all directions, frantically unleashing their divine abilities in a desperate bid to escape as fast as possible. Wang Lin made no move to chase them. He simply stood there, eyes fixed on the heavenly reversal pearl that had consumed the scorpion soul. With a flash in his gaze, he lifted his right hand and grasped the air. At once, the heavenly reversal pearl flew straight into his palm. The moment he gripped it, Wang Lin's body trembled. He could clearly feel that the pearl had reached yet another stage of perfection, undergoing earth-shaking changes within. After a brief pause, he waved his left hand outward. A storm instantly manifested, sweeping across 1,000 miles around him. Its terrifying aura barred all living beings from approaching. With his defenses secured, Wang Lin wasted no time. His divine sense surged into the heavenly reversal pearl. He had to see what transformation awaited now that the pearl had perfected itself once again. The instant his divine sense entered, his vision blurred. When clarity returned, he was already standing in a boundless void, an endless nothingness. High above, there loomed an enormous gate that seemed to connect heaven and earth itself. And on that gate, rested a cyan arm radiating an aura of annihilation. The heavenly reversal gate. Whenever the pearl reached perfection, this gate would appear. Wang Lin had entered before, yet he could never see anything beyond its threshold, only the vast desolation. That cyan arm, brimming with unimaginable power, barred all from passing through. Now, standing once more before the gate, Wang Lin gazed silently at it, his eyes lingering on that cyan arm. The scorpion soul spoke of the white pearl. What did it mean? Wang Lin muttered, his eyes narrowing in thought. After a long moment, brilliance flashed within his gaze. His body shifted, and he began walking slowly toward the gate. As he neared, the cyan arm suddenly moved, releasing a crushing pressure as it reached for him. Its speed was terrifying. In a blink, it loomed before him, 5 massive fingers tearing gashes into the void itself. Yet Wang Lin's expression remained calm. Without slowing his stride, he raised his right hand and struck forward. The heavens roared. The cyan arm shuddered violently and was blasted backward, flung dozens of feet high by Wang Lin's single slap. This arm, which had once terrified him, could no longer block his path. As a void tribulation supreme, Wang Lin now stepped forward unimpeded toward the heavenly reversal gate. His pace was unhurried, but every step resounded like thunder, as though he were crushing the void beneath his feet. With 7 steps remaining, the cyan arm surged up once more, howling as it swept toward him, its aura fierce, unyielding, as if it would never relent until it stopped him. Wang Lin frowned. He did not wish to destroy this arm. As he looked up, his right hand lifted, and he pointed. Immobilize. With a single word, the colossal cyan arm froze midair, utterly motionless. Wang Lin continued forward, his 7 steps carrying him to the gate. Calmly, he raised his left hand, pressed it against the surface, and pushed with all his might. A deep rumble echoed as the heavenly reversal gate slowly cracked open. Though the opening seemed narrow, for Wang Lin it was several feet wide. He stood in silence for a moment before lifting his foot and stepping through. In the next instant, his entire figure vanished, passing completely into the heavenly reversal gate. This time, What unfolded before Wang Lin was a world he had never seen before. There was sky and earth here, but no signs of life. What stood before him was only a towering tower, rising into the clouds, among the mountains. The tower did not have a solid form. It flickered between the illusory and the real, sometimes appearing true, sometimes an illusion. This place was not the same as the one Wang Lin had seen when he encountered the supreme boundary of the world. To be precise, after the completion of the heavenly reversal, the scene that unfolded was completely different from what Wang Lin had once witnessed. It was as if everything before had been a mist, and now the mist was being lifted, revealing to Wang Lin the hidden core of this heavenly reversal, drawing him closer to the secret. From a distance, Wang Lin looked at the strange tower and walked toward it slowly in silence. As he moved forward, the surrounding mountains gradually became illusory, parting in front of him, allowing him to approach the tower step by step. The tower was narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, shaped in an unusual form. Beneath the tower, in the four corners, there were 4 skeletons sitting cross-legged. These skeletons had been here for countless years, existing in this place throughout the long passage of time. 2 of them wore white robes, and the other 2 wore black robes. They sat cross-legged without moving, exuding a strong aura of death. After scanning these 4 skeletons with his gaze, Wang Lin looked at the tower, his eyes filled with confusion. What was the heavenly reversal? This question had troubled him for over 2,000 years, almost 3,000 years now. He had once approached the heavenly reversal gate several times, but only this time had he seen the tower and the 4 skeletons in black and white robes beneath it. This tower had no door. Standing outside the tower, Wang Lin's confusion grew stronger. After a long time, he spread his divine sense toward the tower. The moment his divine sense touched the tower, a thunderous noise immediately exploded in his mind. Countless faint sounds surged into his consciousness, too many to be understood, leaving Wang Lin feeling overwhelmed and unable to hear clearly. He faintly heard the crying of a newborn, the sigh of an elderly person's death, and many other indistinguishable sounds. These sounds included heart-wrenching screams and gentle whispers, all of which seemed to place Wang Lin in a bustling city, hearing every sound within it. Eventually, these endless sounds turned into a buzzing, swirling around Wang Lin's mind and ears, causing his face to pale immediately. With his current cultivation, he was on the verge of being unable to endure it. It seemed that if he continued, he would collapse entirely. Just as he was about to reach his limit, a sharp baby's cry pierced his consciousness, abruptly waking him from the trance. He staggered backward for more than 10 steps, his face deathly pale. His mind was still ringing as he blankly stared at the tower. After a moment, Wang Lin suddenly turned around, transforming into a streak of light as he rushed into the distance, instantly leaving the space. Relying on his sense, he found the souls of Wang Ping and Wang Ping's wife, who were in a deep slumber within the heavenly reversal. Looking at his flesh and blood, Wang Lin fell silent. The baby's cry that had awakened him was familiar. It was the very same cry he had heard when Wang Ping was just a resentful infant, marking the first sound he had ever heard. What exactly is that tower? Wang Lin's eyes were filled with confusion. After a long time, he gazed at the souls of his loved ones and sighed softly, showing both tenderness and sorrow. He turned and left. He arrived for the second time in that strange space, standing before the square tower. Looking up, he saw the top of the tower flickering between illusion and reality. The top was blurry. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin gritted his teeth. He took a few steps forward, and his divine sense spread once again. This time, as he spread it, his right hand lifted. His nails immediately grew long, turning sharp as needles. With a grip of his palm, the sharp nails plunged into the flesh of his palm, but a soft light blocked it, preventing it from piercing his flesh. However, this soft light was quickly dissipating. At the current rate, in about 10 breaths, the light would fade, and Wang Lin's sharp nails would penetrate the flesh, causing immense pain. Time was pressing. Without hesitation, Wang Lin unleashed his divine sense and rushed toward the tower. The moment his divine sense touched the tower, the chaotic sounds roared into his mind again. Wang Lin's body trembled as if he had lost his mind, surrounded by the confusing sounds, like a lone boat in a furious sea, drowning in the waves. The sounds were endless. After merging together, they became a buzzing noise that echoed in Wang Lin's mind, preventing him from distinguishing any individual sound. Time passed slowly, and Wang Lin's face grew increasingly pale. His eyes lost their luster. His body trembled, and in his clenched right fist, the white light gradually faded. On the ninth breath, the white light completely vanished, allowing the sharp nails to violently pierce into the flesh of his palm. Blood began to drip, and the excruciating pain spread throughout his body. In the face of this sudden, excruciating pain, Wang Lin's expression showed signs of struggle. He suddenly regained consciousness, and in that fleeting moment of clarity, amidst the chaotic buzzing sound, there was a voice that seemed to be both faint and distinct, cutting through the noise in an instant. "One is missing." At the moment Wang Lin heard these words, his entire body was thrust back hundreds of meters. In these brief 10 breaths, he seemed to have gone through a life-and-death ordeal. Had it not been for the first cry of an infant, and the second instance of being prepared, he would have likely been swallowed by the overwhelming noise, losing himself entirely. Fixing his gaze on the tower, Wang Lin's eyes showed an unusual wariness. Even now, he still could not figure out what the tower that appeared inside the heavenly reversal pearl truly was. And that voice he heard during the moment of clarity. "What does one is missing mean?" Wang Lin muttered. After a long silence, he glanced at the tower among the mountains, then turned and swiftly departed from the scene. On the Green Devil continent, where the Scorpion Temple was supposed to be, a storm now raged. Within that storm stood a young man with white hair, his eyes closed. At this moment, they suddenly snapped open. As his eyes opened, a deep sense of wariness remained within them. Wang Lin took a long breath, looking down at the heavenly reversal pearl that was merging with his body in the palm of his hand. His expression was complex. "What exactly are you?" Wang Lin muttered. The heavenly reversal pearl completely vanished into his palm, merging with his body and disappearing within his soul. "My divine sense is still not strong enough, far from enough. But one day, I will overpower the noise and hear the hidden words within. I will uncover the deepest secret of this heavenly reversal pearl." Wang Lin's eyes flickered, suppressing the confusion in his heart. He had possessed the pearl for nearly 3,000 years, and had long cultivated enough patience to wait for the moment when the answer would finally be revealed. Moreover, he had a vague sense that being able to see that tower meant he was already very close to uncovering the true secret of the pearl. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes turned cold as he looked into the distance. There, in the faraway horizon, stood the Tao Demon Sect. Tao Demon Sect. I swore once that I would destroy the entire Tao Demon Sect, obliterate their heritage, and from that moment on, this immortal firmament continent would never again have a Tao Demon Sect. Wang Lin flung his sleeve, and the surrounding storm suddenly accelerated, forming a massive black hurricane. The wind roared, carrying Wang Lin's body as it surged forward, heading straight for the distant horizon. "The Tao Demon Sect's tribulation has arrived,"